Welcome to MGAA Conversations, our new podcast channel where we'll be discussing with an exciting number of guests all things related and topical within the ever-growing MGA community. Welcome to the latest edition of MGAA Conversations. Today I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Ryan Gill, recently appointed as CEO at Bspoke Group. Ryan, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. Great to see you, and thank you very much for inviting me on today.
Fantastic. Looking forward to our conversation. So, the timing of this couldn't be better. So, first and foremost, many congratulations on your role and appointment. I think what would be great to kick off, Ryan, certainly for our sort of listeners, is that perhaps you can sort of share a little bit about the recent sales to sort of NFP, right? Okay, so that was obviously sort of trailed in the press. So, again, congratulations on that. Your appointment and how you see the business going forward under your stewardship.
Yes, sure. So first of all, thank you. And yes, absolutely delighted to be in the role at such an exciting time for Bspoke Group with so many things ahead of us. So it's the perfect time really to be stepping into the role. The acquisition by NFP is fantastic for us. I think it's a huge step forward. And as you know, you've been watching Bspoke grow over the past couple of years. I think it was critical for us that we found the correct buyer for the business to take us to the next stage. And I think when we first started talking with NFP, we were really impressed. And as those discussions evolved over time, we just became more and more kind of pleased with how they acted, their culture, their fit, the way the people operate, the way they think about business, the markets, growth. So it was really just a match made in heaven, which made us decide to opt to pair with them, and delighted that they were keen to pursue and agree a deal to acquire the business.
And, they obviously, financially very strong, sort of gives you sort of no doubt some more firepower. So, how do you see sort of over the next sort of 12 months, obviously with them sort of behind you?
Yeah, great question. I think that definitely is the case. There's lots of resource, there's lots of capability in the wider NFP group. I think a key point to make here though is that we will remain independent but connected. That's the strapline that we use to describe the acquisition. They are very keen, as we are, that Bspoke continues to pursue its own strategy. We've got a very nice place in the market, we believe, and we're at the early stages of that journey. There's a lot more to go for Bspoke, so it's win-win really from my perspective coming into the role. We get to pursue the strategy that we've built, the organic nature of the business evolving, yet we can tap into that resource, that capability when we need to suit the business.
Yeah, sounds a great partnership. So good luck with that. Just turning slightly to the market optics currently. So market rating environment is obviously softening. I'm not sure whether we as a sector know how shallow or deep the softening will be. I think everyone's hoping it will be a shallow softening as opposed to a deep softening. What would looking at Bspoke and looking at that sort of the MGA sort of community generally, what would you see are the key things for MGAs to sort of navigate this sort of challenging conditions at the moment?
Yeah, very relevant. Great question. So I think we are clearly monitoring this. I think the key things for an MGA like Bspoke and others in the market is that we remain relevant. It's speed, service, and solution focus. They're three key things that I keep driving home to our teams. We've got to be there. We've got to be offering something different than other people out there. And I think that's supported again by strong and deep partnerships with our relationships so that we can ride out those storms, and a real focus on quality of product and service. We've really got to be different there and doing something better. I think it helps to have a breadth of product like we have. That can help to flatten the cycle across the piece. And again, transparent and open relationships with capacity partners. Any MGA is reliant on its capacity. I think we pride ourselves on those deep relationships that will stand the test of time. And fundamentally, that means maintaining our discipline as well through these cycles, sticking to the core focus. We will not chase prices down. We stick to that, stick to the specialisms and trust our underwriters, which we've spent a lot of time cultivated, recruiting to join Bspoke to make us leaders in what we do. And all across this is driving home the theme of Bspoke's strategy is focused on niche and specialty areas and sustainable underwriting.
Yeah, I think your point around diversification is really important. I think certainly Bespoke have got, an advantage in that, because obviously if you've got a broad, diverse product range, then obviously the rating environment will be different within those individual products. Some will be
Absolutely.
more slightly insulated than others, and as opposed to having one particular one particular sort of product where you're having to ride through a very difficult cycle. So I certainly agree with the diversification point.
Yeah, and that is absolutely the case. That's by design as well, how we built the business to be diversified by product, by distribution, and by capacity as well, with our different partners and appetites, which stand us in good stead.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Now, again, turning, because we can't have a conversation without mentioning our sort of colleagues and friends at the regulator. So there's been quite a lot of narrative, and I've been involved in that around, should MGAs be regulated or supervised separately? Because you'd be aware, where we all fall into the intermediary sort of bucket at this present time. I'd just be really interested, and sure our listeners would, your own view as CEO. Do you see the case for MGAs to be separately supervised, or are you quite comfortable in terms of where we are at the moment?
Yeah, it's again, it's a really interesting, very relevant
Yeah,
topic at the moment. As you can imagine, we're looking at that within the business and in the external environment. I think, yeah, the debate definitely has some merits, but I think it's fair to say it's complex. So,
yeah,
and I've seen lots of interesting pieces in the press recently. I know you've been party to a lot of that, Mike, and some really great
yeah,
content with the opposing views there. So, not wanting to sit on the fence as such, but I think that it probably requires further exploration and debate. I think that the real key thing there is that a sensible and proportionate solution is the
yeah,
outcome. Really, I think that knee jerking is not the answer, and I think listening to the MGA sector and voices like the MGA and yourself with all of your network and contacts, I think that's really important that the platform is set to listen to people to make sure that a balanced and considered approach is put in place if indeed there is change needed. Um, I mean, generally speaking, from my perspective, I think we do see that there tends to be more accountability for MGAs than distributors, but standard regulation can be open to interpretation again and potentially causes confusion in terms of how different parties interpret that. And so I do think in that respect it could do with more clarity in looking at, but definitely don't have the answer for you today, I'm afraid. But
no, yeah, and again, I think it's a very good answer. I think for my sentiment is, and I'm in continual dialogue with the regulator on this, is that I think the thing I would land with you and our listeners is that the regulator has been very clear that if there are sort of rules which MGAs feel do not apply to them
yeah,
currently, only apply to brokers, then the regulator has quite openly said to me, highlight those to us, and we will take a look at them on behalf of the MGA sector. And if we feel that it's right to give MGAs dispensation against those rules, and they will do it. And I think that's a great starting point, actually. But I agree entirely. I think it is a complex area once you sort of start trying to move in from a separate supervision. And I would never rule it out. And if it gains real momentum, it's something we'll continue to have that dialogue with the regulator. But I say, I think we do have that sort of open door at the moment that we can highlight specific regulations which shouldn't apply to MJs, and get the regulator to formally sort of advise us on that. So I think, as you say, well, I think a debate to continue. So I've got a debate to continue on that one from there. Just pivoting back to, we talked briefly about product range. And obviously your diversification, no doubt, you've got other areas you're not currently operating in, which you're keen to sort of build out. Can we expect to see new product development from Bespoke over the next sort of 6 to 12 months?
yeah, I would say so. Yes, I mean, first of all,
Yeah,
just to say we focus on the niche and specialist product areas, so that will remain a core competence. Um, but we definitely have appetite to expand that in a carefully considered manner. So we're continually, as you'd expect, appraising the marketplace and looking for those next opportunities. We have a number of dedicated people on products and kind of development design, understanding those trends out there. I think customer feedback is really important to us as well, and looking for areas where the markets are either underserved, there's what we think is a poor product, or there's room for a better product and offering to improve customer outcomes. And I think you've also got to throw dislocation into that as well, which we've been quite good at historically at Bspoke, I think. So, for example, 18 months ago, we saw that there was dislocation in the private client space, particularly the high net worth market, lots of withdrawal of capacity, customers less options. So we thought perfect to step in here to serve that customer need. We came up with the offering and the proposal, which we put a lot of deep thought and time into. We recruited some real experts in there in terms of Ed Ewington and Stuart Bromley to lead that team. We invested in a tech solution that we've put a lot of money into to build that, to serve that in an automated way where we can. And then around that, we've brought in leading experts from an underwriting perspective who can tailor for that higher end. So that's going really well so far. And I think it's a good example to use. It's not the only one we have, but that would indicate if we see other segments in a similar situation, then we will be delighted to step in, but only when we're confident that we have the right people, processes and infrastructure to deliver.
So continued diversification in the right areas, clearly, in terms of what you're doing, which is, that's exciting actually. So I think it's always great when certainly the high net worth or private clients, as you said, that's a real great example and a success story. And I think it's great when you can sort of share that sort of with our listeners in terms of a bit of dislocation, good spot, good underwriting, and actually being a success. So good stuff, excellent. So just turning to distribution again. And in particular the broker landscape, and it's probably something we'd have a conversation with Dave Marshall about actually. In terms of within Bspoke, who's a great guy. How do you see the broker landscape? Do you think more brokers are using more MGAs? Do you think the MGA sector need to do more with the brokers? Do you have any concerns? So just really interested in looking at distribution. Are you confident in terms of the direction of travel?
Yes, to answer the last piece first, I'm definitely confident from an MGA perspective. Look, we certainly see that more brokers are working with MGAs and see that will continue to grow actually based on our assessment and what we track. Again, I think that's pretty well documented in the press recently, which we concur with a lot of what we've seen out there. I think the key piece is that MGAs are providing a much needed role out there for customers, and in particular in the non-standard, niche and specialist areas. And ultimately, we need to maintain the service there and providing that specialism, speed, I think agility. And again, to reiterate, a key focus for me and our teams is that we have a solution-focused mindset. I think that's really key as we see kind of the composites offering more standard and kind of volume-driven focus. We can really step into those markets where there's more, those needs for completely different tailored solutions. We're perfectly poised to deliver that, and brokers need that, and we're here to provide that service.
Yeah, you're right. I think that, as you mentioned earlier, the innovative forensic understanding of broker distribution and how you can shape programs to meet brokers' customers' requirements is that agility is unmatched anywhere other than the MJ sector. So I concur completely on that. What about technology, Ryan? So you touched a little bit in terms of the success you had on the private clients when you got a tech solution. Yeah. Are Bspoke on an AI journey yet? Have you got a sort of a reasonable lean sort of system, sort of pack and that sort of stuff? Where are you guys on that AI and looking out sort of 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, so yes, we've invested significantly in our IT, in the tech and the data infrastructure and capability across the group. That's been an ongoing process for the last few years, as you would expect. I think, and that covers lots of areas from customer facing, customer journey to that onboarding to our underwriting platform, right through to operational aspects. We will definitely see some significant uptick in the business and benefits of this in 26, which again, really excited about. As you know, these things require quite a lot of investment up front and you don't always see the benefit until it lands. So we're on the cusp of that 3 different things all landing in early 26, which will be really exciting, both for our customers, the proposition, and ultimately to the bottom line, I think, as we drive through that efficiency. I think in terms of AI itself and innovation, again, a big push for us. I don't mind saying it, just my observation, but I think there's a lot of people out there saying they're leaders in AI and driving that in the industry. I genuinely think there are some that are excellent at that we speak to, we see, and there's some amazing innovative things going on. Honest view is that certain people, it's not really AI what's going on, it's more automation. So I'm not going to sit here and say we are leaders in AI, but I think what we can definitely say is that we have a measured approach to it. We've been looking at this for some time. So within Bspoke Group, we have a working party that's been looking at this for now established for about 12 months. That's key individuals across the business, collating those perspectives, and we have small things going on to test and learn as we go. That's supported by external experts that we have to come in, guide us on kind of the latest techniques, the best techniques, how to implement, start small, get bigger. And I would say that approach we took was a great decision, actually, because it's allowing us, rather than dive deep in, it's measured, we see it's a sustainable approach, and it's definitely starting to bear fruit. So early on, we've seen this mainly benefit in terms of our operational efficiency. So that's back office, that's automating or using AI to do things that it can do much better, quicker and accurately than humans can. And what that means really from a leadership and a people perspective, which is key to our business, is that we use our people in a way that is best suited to their skills in the market, that they're not doing the day-to-day mundane things, they're doing the real value add, which again loops back to the brilliance of MGAs, the specialism, the speed and the service. So by taking away the noise, so to speak, and automating it, it's a win-win in both ways, to customers. And
that's great. I really like that answer, actually, because one of the sort of follow-up questions, and you've already answered it, I was going to say, do you see it as being complementary to your teams as opposed to replacing them? And actually, I think you've answered that superbly insofar as, you don't want, very skilled or people in their particular roles doing stuff which actually automation or AI can do better, because it just makes those people even add more value to the business, your clients and everything else, as opposed to doing that sort of, that sort of legwork stuff. So I think you clearly see it as being very complementary as opposed to sort of reducing headcount.
Absolutely. Yeah, spot on.
Yeah, it's excellent. That's good. Okay, so we fantastic sort of to talk to you, coming to the end of sort of our episode. So new CEO, sort of looking forward, when we have this conversation in 12 months time or slightly longer, what would you be hoping to share with me and our listeners in terms of achievements that you've done? There you go. There's a humdinger of a question for you. Go on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great question. Where to start with that one? So I think first and foremost, pretty vanilla answer, but I think to say that we've delivered our strategic ambitions for the year.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? I guess there's a bunch of things in there. So right up there at the top would be that we've got the ambition to be the leading niche and specialist MGA in the UK market. So whether we achieve that by the end of the year or we're well advanced on that journey, I'd like to say the former, but that would definitely be up there. And that would be a culmination of a number of initiatives and the broader strategies that we have in place across the group. We have designed to take us there, but let's see in 12 months, and I'd be delighted to come back on, Mike. I think a few other areas as well that would be very important for me personally coming into the role as CEO, a commitment I've made to myself as well as the people, is about our people. So absolutely that we deliver the best in terms of tools, capability and environment for our people to thrive in. So I'd like to say in 12 months' time that we have a highly engaged and motivated workforce at Bspoke, and we've given them the tools and capability to deliver to their best.
Okay, I think that's great. Well, I look forward to sort of bringing you back on in 12 months' time, and you can tick all those boxes. Ryan, it's been absolutely great to have a conversation with you. It will be extremely interesting to our podcast listeners, and we'll catch up very soon. So thank you very much for sort of giving us your time and your thoughts. All the best.
Thank you very much, Mike. Cheers for having me on.
Many thanks for listening. We welcome all feedback, so please get in touch with your suggestions on topics and future guests. Please don't forget to subscribe on your chosen platform so that you don't miss out.